Let's try that again. Oh, 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 almost. Let's. Good afternoon. My name is Michael Markowsky. Welcome to my studio. Once again, today we are going to attempt to create an awesome drawing. And as part of our new series, Request a Sketch, I'm asking you to help come up with ideas that we can draw together. And for our first episode, considering the World Cup of football, or soccer for those of us here in North America, is happening right now, I thought it might be a good idea to start by drawing one of the most famous athletes on Earth, Cristiano Ronaldo. So, this is the image that I found, and obviously this is Cristiano Ronaldo. This is from 2017, so it's actually about 9 years old. It was from some kind of promotional thing that he was doing. I couldn't find actually a really good one of him playing football because I don't know if you know anything about Ronaldo, but he's always got a particular kind of look on his face, and I wanted to do this episode as also a teaching episode, and some of these kinds of things are a little bit more difficult. So I took this original photo and I did a little Photoshop and put him in the jersey that his team... This is actually a photo of his body from a still from one of the games that he played recently, and I stuck his own head on his own body, but from two different photos. So it does look a little bit strange, but I'm hoping when we draw it, it will look normal here. So I'm going to go through all of the steps to create this drawing. Maybe just a quick, before we get into it, just encourage you to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know when future episodes are taking place. About 90% of the people that watch these videos are not subscribers, so all it takes, doesn't cost you a penny, is clicking that subscribe button, hitting the like button. Do it right now. Hey, why not? You can always unsubscribe later on if you like. If you want to support the channel and you want to leave a small donation of a couple dollars, consider going to the PayPal link there or scanning that QR code. It'll take you to this page. The link is also in the description below. Make sure you write the right one in there. It's that paypal.me/MarkowskyArt. Markowski with a Y, not an I. Other ways to donate to support the channel is you could send an e-transfer via email, a check in the mail, or use the YouTube Super Chat function while we're here live. And so to get my email, you have to contact me through my website or through the Facebook group. I don't put it here because I'm literally get about 100 weird spammy messages every day because of this. So consider joining the Facebook group so you can contact me via email if you like, or if you want my website, so in a link down below there. And not only join the group just to send me an email, but you can also take a photograph of your drawing that you create today and join the Facebook group, upload it there, and get free support from other people, including once every 6 weeks I give people free advice on how to improve their artwork on our bonus feedback episodes. I've been doing it for 6 years and I still do it. Whether it's a painting you did in our Master Studies series, a drawing that we did in our original drawing series that I did 6 years ago, I still give people free advice on how to improve those. It's the first link in the description below. Scan the QR code or enter one of those website addresses below there, and it'll take you to a page similar to this, where there's always a little post about each upcoming episode. Wow, look at all of the comments. Oh my goodness. Okay, sure. Let me just do a quick little check. Oh my goodness, there's a lot here. Lionel says Messi is the GOAT. Yes, maybe we should do a Messi episode. You let me know in the chat, especially on the Facebook group, what our next episode or our next 50 episodes should be. I see Archie says hi from Wales. Christina says hey friends. Stephanie says hello from Tucson, Arizona. Katie says, hello all, what a great day to draw. Archie says, maybe you could do a sketch of Messi as a cartoon man, a goat footballer. As in terms of the greatest of all time, the GOAT. I'm sure somebody's already done something like that. That's funny. Kathy says hello from Vancouver Island. Hey, Kathy. You must be on, or you're on vacation, right? It's been a while since I could watch live. My cousin looks there beautiful. Anyone been painting this summer, says Kathy. Christina says, hey, cat, on and off. The heat makes me lazy. I know. Let me see. So there's Michael Markowsky. We missed you. Thanks, Christina. I love it. Kathy says Keith Haring. Oh, yes. Yeah, we did a couple Keith Haring paintings a while ago, didn't we? Stephanie says, just finished my second angel painting, Guardian Angel, inspired by the husband who loved the original. I studied the Frank Johnson and painted it in that style. Interesting. That I can't even imagine how that would look. Frank Johnston. Angel painting. Okay. Well, cool. Sorry, lots of comments here. I just want to acknowledge everyone in the chat who's tuned in. Okay. You know, I haven't done a warm-up drawing, and I think it would be a good idea to do a warm-up drawing. I'm going to call a little audible. I don't know what they call it in... Audible is an American or Canadian football term. I don't know what they call that in football as according to the rest of the world. But what if we find a different image? Something quick that we could draw. Okay, here's a photo, soccer player. Let's drag this to the desktop. What do y'all think about a warm-up drawing like that to get started? Okay. And just so you see here, this is the thumbnail for the episode. Somehow it still looks like AI slop, even though I made it from scratch, but that's everything looks like AI slop these days, doesn't it? Okay, let's get a new... There we go. Now, should I use colored pencils here? Yeah, let's use colored pencils. And I just got this timer. Let's set a timer. How long of a warm-up drawing should we do? Okay, how about we'll do where'd that go? Should we do a 10-minute drawing here? Okay. So, to start out with, I want to try to figure out where this figure fits on the page. So maybe, what if I just divide this in half? And I can decide where I want to put Ronaldo in here. So I'm going to say I kind of want a little bit more room in front of him, so I'm going to say maybe right about there. I don't know if you can see my little cursor pretty much right on his waist here. So I'm going to try to sketch in this block of a torso, a head, got one arm here, a little afraid I would run out of room here. Okay, so maybe before I go on, I don't know if you can see it. I drew it kind of lightly. Maybe I should have drawn. I'll just go over my lines a little bit so you can. Now, I'm not saying these are all in the right place or the right proportion, because what I want to do next is I want to do a little double checking and see where we are. So let's say if I was to draw a line, let's say that's the middle of his face. If that's one eye, I draw a line straight down. Is that line going straight down? Actually, that's pretty good. Okay. What else can I do a little? So if I got his hand here, where I said that's about the middle. Did I say that was about the middle? I think I should have just left it. So I'm just looking at angles, trying to think if there's... This back leg is a little bit tricky because I think I ran out of room. I could shrink everything down, but I've only got 6.5 or 7 minutes remaining. So I think let's just go... just go into it here. So see his shoulder comes up here. Now, that foot probably extends over to here. So instead, how about let's see if I can raise it up. I got 3.5 minutes here. Now, even though I don't see that other hand, I think I would still want it here anyway. Or I guess it could be maybe further behind him here. Let's put a horizon line in. Put a little shadow down here. Minute and a half. What can I do? Let's see. Let's add bleachers. Okay, I got 20 seconds here. Six, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, out of time. Whew, okay. So there's my original warm-up drawing here. Okay. So that just, I like doing a little warm-up drawing just to kind of get my head in a more creative space. I just finished washing the dishes and cleaning the house. Not particularly the most creative mindset to be in. So just doing a little warm-up like this for 10 minutes, literally just putting a timer on here just to help me move forward, so I also don't just get obsessed with perfection. I mean, I could easily have spent half an hour just on that face, right? And I just want, I'm not trying to do a perfect drawing here, just want to get something started as a warm-up. Now, let me just take a quick look there. It's hard to, because I kind of stand a little bit further back, everything looks great from this angle, and I look at it, it might be a little bit tall. All right, but of course that's further away from me, so I sometimes make them a little bit larger. But it is what it is. Okay, so let's go to our next image. And I should let you know that the image we're about to use is in a new Dropbox folder that I just created about 5 minutes before the episode went live. That's why I was running a little bit late. So if you want any of these original images that we're going to be using for this episode, you can find them by scanning that QR code or entering in this web address there. And you'll see this file. If you want to draw the smirking Ronaldo, there's the one him in his business suit, or this photoshopped version that I created here. So those are the source images for today's drawing. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to use this episode as a way of just teaching a little bit about portraiture, so that someone who wants to get into drawing faces but maybe has never done so before would have an easy and accessible way to get started. So we start here with the face of Ronaldo, and just looking at it, I want you to kind of think about what the basic shapes are that we can use to illustrate the face of this legendary football player. So what I've done is I've brought it into this image into Procreate, and I did a little bit of drawing with some shapes so you can see this process. So the first thing is our heads are oval shape, right? So I want to find the oval in the head, right? So there's always going to be an oval in there somewhere, but the trick is finding where it would go. So what you'll see here, you might say, well, the oval's not big enough because it doesn't reach all the way to the hair. Well, I'm drawing the head, and the hair is growing on top of the head. So we want a little bit of dimension for that hair, because unless he's got a shaved head, it's going to look like this. Now, obviously, the head isn't a perfect oval like this. It's, most people's heads aren't perfectly symmetrical and smooth like this. And it's probably a little bit wider here, and actually probably a little not quite as high. It doesn't matter about getting it perfect. What I want you to see, though, next is down here by the chin. Now you might say, why didn't we go down here? Isn't that the bottom of the face? Well, that's this part here. This is part of the neck, right? This kind of jowly part here. So the face ends here at the bottom of the chin, not down here, right? So again, I'm bringing that oval in here. We'll talk about dealing with this in a moment. So the next thing is, you'll notice that right in the center of that oval is the eye line. The eyes are right in the middle of the face. Now, every once in a while you see different people have different ways of teaching drawing, and sometimes I see people say, no, it should be the eyebrows there, and the eyes are just a little bit below the center. It's roughly in that area. And it doesn't really matter what strategy you use, as long as you take a strategy and you kind of stick with it, I think is the most important thing. Find a recipe and follow the recipe. If you try to kind of combine a whole bunch of different ones, that's where it starts to kind of get a little bit screwy. But anyway, for this particular method, which I think is the simplest one, it's the one that I taught in my drawing course that millions of people have watched, might be doing something right there. So we have the the center line for the eyes is right in the middle. But notice when I put this line down the middle, it's not actually in the middle of his face. And that's because his head is turned ever so slightly. And the reason we can see that is we see a little bit more of this ear than we do of this ear, right? We can see a little bit more of this piece of the ear, not the lobe. Well, I guess the lobe too, because we can see where the lobe connects to the head and then goes down. Whereas this one, that connection is obscured by his jaw, right? So we see a little bit more of this side of it. We can also see a little bit more of his hair here. So what we want to do is we want to create a new line up, a new vertical center line here. Right, so this is the new line that goes down the middle of his face. Notice that? I've also made marks where the nose and the mouth are. And the nose is roughly halfway down between the eye line and the chin. Now, sometimes I think technically halfway would be just a little bit below here, so his nose is a little bit higher. Right, it's mostly because he's got a pretty big jaw. He's got a pretty strong jaw, so that's pushing his mouth and nose up a little bit higher. So technically, what I teach is, you draw the line for the nose a little bit lower here, and then halfway between the nose and the chin is the mouth. But again, because of the size of his jaw and his chin there, those lines are pushed upwards. So by moving this vertical center line off to the left a little bit, that also means we're going to move the edge of his face, not the edge of his head, the edge of his face is now moved over here. So I'm accounting this little space here, right, used to be here. So halfway between this new edge of the face and the center line is where the eye goes. It's the center of the eye. And it's kind of hard to, you kind of want to just ignore where his pupil and iris are looking, because he's not looking right at us, he's looking a little bit off to the left there. And same sort of thing, the center of this eyeball is halfway between this new vertical center line and that edge of the face. Right, so that helps us determine where the basic facial features go. Okay, so once I've got that identified, now I'm just I draw a couple of these little eyeballs around there. Technically, we should be able to fit about, technically, we should be able to fit maybe 4 eyeballs across the width of the face. I have seen people say, so for instance, we should be able to fit another one of these yellow circles in between the eyeballs. And then usually we could fit about half an eyeball on either side here towards the outer sides of the face. Now, I think one of the things with Ronaldo is his eyes appeared to me to be just a little bit smaller than this generic set of features. So I'm accounting for that. I'm making the eyes, there's a little bit more space on the outer edges of the face. And I think this might be one of the, there's a very famous sculpture, maybe I gotta bring it up because it's so ridiculous here. Oops, bad spelling. I think this is what accounted for this quite unfortunate sculpture that was quite famously unveiled about Ronaldo here. And you can see that the artist, I think, has placed the eyes a little bit too close to one another. So I think essentially what I'm saying is I'm noticing the same thing, but I don't want to make the same mistake. That Ronaldo's got kind of smaller eyes, and there's maybe a little bit more space towards the edge of his face, but that other artist kind of put them really close together. And I generally say, if in doubt, I think you generally want to have more space in between the eyes. If you know, it's like if you got a little bit of extra space, I would put it in between the eyes. When the eyes get too close together, then they start looking like that Ronaldo sculpture. Okay. So if we can place the eyes there, and we're gonna go through this step by step as we do this drawing, but I just want to walk you through it right now so you can see how it goes. Next up, then I would draw the nose, and we're going to put 3 little balls there for the nose, one being bigger for the ball of the nose versus the nostrils. And then I also identify where the mouth goes. We've already identified that, but I'm trying to think about the width of the mouth. And then I kind of just defined some of like the hair and the ears, the shoulders. And then lastly, I put these lines on defining like eyebrows and the eyelids and the bridge of the nose, cheekbones, all that kind of stuff, right? And his jaw and chin and all that stuff. So those will be kind of where we'll ultimately build up to. So, Christina says he looks terrified. Sorry, my vision here. Nyla says, man, I love your vids. I love your beginner drawing course playlist. I just want to say thank you. You are super underrated, man. Oh, thank you so much for saying that. That's very sweet of you. And I am back says, do you remember me? I'm not sure. Maybe. Refresh my memory, my friend. I am back. There's a lot of people in these chats sometimes, so the sculpture looks more like Charlie Kirk. That's kind of funny. I mean, I see a little bit of Charlie Kirk in there. That's funny. Okay, so let's see again if we can draw this picture. Let's get to it. Let's go to a new page in our sketchbook. Whew, stretch the legs a little bit. I'll be totally honest, it's a little bit terrifying doing this in real time on the internet. I'm absolutely setting myself up for failure and total humiliation. Because it's one thing to do a drawing of someone, it's a whole other thing to try to create a likeness of somebody. And it's the most difficult thing to do when you're drawing. And, but, you know, I'm going to take a little bit of inspiration from a great athlete like Ronaldo. You know, that's one of the things I love about sports. I know 95% of artists cannot stand sports and all that kind of stuff. But I take a great deal of inspiration from sports because it's, especially when athletes lose, when they fail to win, right? I think it teaches it's great like life lessons, like seeing an athlete like Ronaldo, whose team Portugal was kicked out of the World Cup, you know, maybe a week or so ago, right? So maybe arguably one of the greatest players to ever play, his team didn't win, right? So it's also a team game too. But it just reminds me that you can be the best, but you don't always win. In fact, maybe if anything, you might rarely win, right? You might win a little bit more than somebody else, and that makes you one of the greatest of all time. So, you know, but it's also you're performing in front of everyone, and everyone is a critic. And so that's a little bit like what I'm about to do here, is to try to perform. And the likelihood of success, I would say, is kind of low. But if we do pull it off, we're going to look like geniuses. Right? So that's the goal here, is to look like a genius. Okay. Okay, just want to make sure. In fact, let's just make sure that's in focus before Oh, there's from one of our most recent drawing episodes, Helena Scherfbeck. She did this drawing when she was 14 years old, which is just is a little bit upsetting for those of us whose hair is turning a little bit gray, right? Okay, so there we go. Just getting everything set up. Archie says, following in real time is terrifying too. Let's go! I love it. You know, I find like watching, like I can't watch these World Cup games live. I have a subscription. I can watch them live, but I let it play for about an hour, and then I watch, and then I'm kind of just frantically going forward, right? Because like the stress is too much. I have to be able to kind of jump forward, because it's sitting there in real time. Not being able to jump forward if something's, you know, if there's a VAR thing, I'm like, oh, well, that's gonna happen. I need to know. I can't wait. It's too stressful. Okay, so let's let's go to that view. Okay, so let's start out with actually, I'm just wondering, do I want to I'm just trying to decide, do I want to do this? I want to scrap. No, well, do I want to do this on a? No, let's do this on a regular piece of paper, and if I want, I can show you how I can transfer it onto another one later. Okay, so let's begin by trying to draw this oval shape here. Now his head is tilted a little bit. I think I'm just going to straighten that out. It doesn't look very straight. It still looks a little bit crooked, but that's okay. How about let's make his head I was going to make it crooked, but let's just... I mean, this shape's not super important anyway. Okay, let's find the center line. Okay. So there's step number 1. Let's go to step number 2 here. I'll try to use these same colors as well. So I'm going to move the center line over. Okay, so now this eye is going to be halfway between this new center line. Let's say that's the outside of the face, right? So there's that. Now, let's say that's the edge of the head. Let's find the edge of the face, which is now right here. So halfway between here and here, I think is right about there. According to just the basic structure. Right? Okay, now halfway between the nose, or sorry, the eye line and the chin. Right about there. And halfway between the nose and the mouth is right there. So here's my typical facial structure, but as we talked about, his nose is maybe a little bit higher up, and his mouth is a little bit higher up too. We got this pretty strong jaw and chin down here. Okay, so we just did that. So the next step here, let's draw some eyeballs. Now, remember I just mentioned how his eyes are actually a little bit closer together. So, right, I kind of want this space maybe to be a little bit bigger than this one. Right, but I should be able to fit another eye here. And about another half eye on either side. Alright. Let's get the nose. So we got a circle for the nose. Right. Just looking here. See how this nostril kind of hits that eyeball and that now that's not to say that everyone's nose is like that. You know, some people, I've got a really big nose and my nostrils kind of come out a little bit wider, overlap that space, but I'm just defining where that goes. Okay, and my mouth now. Let's find the edge. So that's usually about right in the middle of the eye is the outer edge of the, unless the mouth is, you know, when we're really surprised, or we're really scared, I should say, the mouth gets out as wide as possible. And then that might make it go, but mostly especially when your mouth is at rest, it's going to line up the edge right in the middle of the eye there. Okay. Now, the ears are a little bit higher, which does mean he's actually looking down just a little bit. I didn't even notice that, but let's just follow what we've got here. So technically, so you can see the nose when we're looking straight ahead, the ears, the bottom of the earlobes match with the bottom of the nose, and the top of the ears match with the eye line. His, however, are higher. I think this is also due to the lens of the camera too, is compressing the space, but it's a conversation for another day. But it does also suggest and reinforce this idea that his ears are, or his eyes are, maybe smaller than most people's eyes are, right? Because even with the photography equipment distortion there, I would still imagine the tops of his ears wouldn't be so big. So he's got pretty big ears. That's interesting to... Okay. Let's, what else are we going to do? Let's get his neck in. Notice that this neck, that line, is pretty much right between here. Between his, the eyeball and the outer edge of the face. So that's one part of the neck. Now this one doesn't do that because his head is turned, right? So look how it almost pretty much lines up with the edge of the face that we drew there before, right? So here's the chin. This is going to be kind of where his face attaches to his neck right here. This is that jowly area there. So then this mark comes down here. I mean, he's a pretty strong, I mean, this guy's a world-class athlete, right? So he's got pretty broad shoulders. Okay, we'll deal with his jaw here next step. So let's get his hairline. So the hairline is, if we go halfway between the eye line and the top of the head, make a little line there. All right, that's usually about the lowest the hairline will ever come down. But his hairline's a little bit higher up, which is very typical. Doesn't mean his hair is receding, it's just that's where it is. Okay, so my basic features are in there. Christina says, these YouTube ads are driving me crazy, but I refuse to go ad-free. Yeah, they drive me crazy. I do have, what is it called, YouTube Plus or YouTube Pro or the ad-free. I tell you though, it's kind of like a game changer. I don't know how much it is. It's like $100 a year or something, but I haven't seen an advertisement unless I go to like best Super Bowl ads. I haven't seen, because I don't even have a TV. We just watch YouTube basically, cut our cords, and so it's weird. You go to like a department store or something, and they have a TV on, and they're playing something, and then there's a commercial. Like, oh, that's what those things. I forgot what those things. They're so annoying, aren't they? Okay. Are we ready to go on to the next step here? Let's get a new color. Green. I'm trying to use colors similar to what we've got here. What would look nicer? Grassy green. Let's go for this a little bit more aqua green. Okay. So put in those cheekbones, right? Actually, that's that. Okay, so there's his chin. We got this area here. And let's say, should we put his, let's go put this jersey on. Let's see, where does this point match up? That, we draw a straight line going up. It looks like it's somewhere here. Although, do we want to change it? Do we want it, instead of going off to the side, maybe it should be, I'm going to change it. I'm going to put it right here. Okay. What do I want to do? Do I want to do... Should I just keep on drawing over top of this? Maybe. Let's take a quick photo. I like taking pictures of artwork in progress, because if it doesn't turn out, at least I can say, oh no, this is what the final one looked like, not this. Oh, there's Pascal. It says, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Passing by, I'll try to come back quick. Thanks, Pascal. Simon says, I remember checking before, and the last streams were from months ago. I'm going through the beginner course playlist, and coincidentally my next video will be portraits after drawing old people. So thank you. I've been struggling to find drawing tutorials that didn't turn into a simple just draw inspirational video, or kind of let you on your own. There is a schedule to... Is there a schedule to these streams? Is there a schedule to these streams currently? Not really. Archie says the additional colors really help to see the process. Oh, that's cool. Okay. So yeah, let's continue this in color then. Also, I'll use... Yeah, let's build it up with fun colors. Let's see, what colors... I mean, I got hundreds of colors here. All of these were, at one point, really well organized. And I had, like, you know, I've got several of these Caran d'Ache boxes. And then one day, this is maybe 10 years ago, I was carrying them up some stairs and tripped, and they went everywhere. And these stairs, of course, weren't just normal stairs. They had holes in this, so they went all the way down. Like, and it was one of those things I was like, I don't know. Like, I can never put Humpty Dumpty back together again. So, it's on my list. I literally have a list of things to do, and it's on the list, but... And I don't want to just go to brown or something for the skin tone. Well, bronze. That could be kind of fun. I think this container here is all my brown. So you can see this is how things were kind of before, all neatly organized. They did get shuffled around a little bit. So we'll come back to some of those browns a little bit later on. Let's go to blue here. Okay, just taking some time here. If it's frustrating, well, this is a new thing we're introducing for the 2026 series. It's hydration breaks. And if you're a World Cup or football fan, you probably have strong feelings about the hydration breaks, which we all know is actually really advertising breaks. I saw that FIFA has made over $250 million in ad revenue during their hydration breaks. Okay, so hydration break over. Let's get back to drawing. So where should we start here? I think I'm going to go back to these eyes. I think often nailing the eyes is really important here. So maybe the first thing I'm going to do is figure out where he's looking. So he's looking kind of a little bit off to the side here. All right, so here's the pupil. Right, and then the iris. This is the thing that's got like bicycle spokes inside there. In fact, maybe why don't we zoom in for a little bit? So even there, I noticed that his eyelid's going to be even more closed. So I'm really looking carefully at the shape of his eyelid here. I'm going to leave a little bit of a highlight. This is going to get much darker as we go here. Let's get a little bit of this eyebrow. So we see here's the bottom part of the eyebrow, top part of the eyebrow. Come over to this side. Once again, let's just get the structure. So for me, lining eyes up is the most difficult thing. I think that's okay. So I often kind of I find when I do this, sometimes one eye is a little bit looking forward to the left, to the right, and I can kind of really struggle with that. So I put one eye in and say, okay, that eye is that's where it is. The other one, I start a little bit lighter, and until I kind of get it right, because I want to be able to have that freedom to move it a little bit over here, I kind of wait until I feel like it's good before I kind of really go dark and lock it in. So I'm also just really looking carefully at the amount of white space. Okay. Notice how this eyebrow comes out a little bit further here. Okay. Next, let's look at this nose. So you see he's got a fairly kind of thin bridge of the nose here. And then it widens out. Okay, so this will be some stuff that maybe we shade in. We'll use some browns and stuff as we go. One of the reasons I like drawing the eyeballs is it also helps me just see the shape of things, especially something like these eyelids. So he doesn't have like bulging eyes. Some other people, you see this and you can see the shape of their eyes. Like you can almost sense the eyeball right underneath the surface. Doesn't seem that way with him. So the top lip is almost always darker than the bottom lip because it kind of points inward towards the mouth, right? So the light hitting it is going to be darker, whereas the bottom lip is getting most of the light. So often you see, even sometimes people will just draw that top lip and just hint at it with the line down there. Okay. Kathy says hydration breaks are important. Michael, as are energy bars. Yes. Now, while he has what it almost appears like a double chin here, I don't think that's really the case. I think he might be just doing a little bit of that a bit. Right? Particularly probably because he's usually has his chest out. That kind of pushes your head back. So he's giving a bit of that. You want to just be careful about, you don't want to overemphasize that. Maybe if anything, you kind of want to de-emphasize it just so it doesn't make him look like he's got a double chin. Unless you really don't like Ronaldo and you want to give him a double chin there, right? So right now I'm just trying to see the different planes of the face here, the different kind of areas, the facets that make up this face. Okay. Let's draw one of these ears. I wonder, do I want to put these earrings in? I don't know if he wears the earrings while he's playing. So maybe I'll take the earrings out. Okay, so let's start moving up the face here. Get a little bit of hair started. Actually, maybe before I do that, just gonna shape a little bit of his eyebrow ridge here. This is all in focus, right? Okay. can always put more. We're going to put some color in here as we go. So maybe it's worth just checking in and seeing the progress of this drawing at this stage here. Okay. So before I go on, I just want to do a little bit, now that the face is starting to appear here, just kind of checking. I think one thing, I feel like this needs to come out a little bit further over here. Okay, so once again, you can see I think that these eyes are maybe a little bit too big, and that's one of the reasons why it's maybe I don't have quite the likeness that I would like. All right. Okay, so a little bit of a crossroads here. What should I do? Should I try to finish this drawing, or should I start another one and show you how I might make this a little better? How am I doing with time? 1:30, 12. Oh. Okay, let me see if I could find some tracing paper here. Where's my tracing paper? Okay, so I think I took all my tracing paper to school. I think it's because I haven't used tracing paper in like 20 years, and I had a whole bunch of it. And I think I just brought it to school so my students could use it. So we'll do the dirty way. Let's take some. Let's place bets on the likelihood this drawing ends up looking exactly the same the second time I do it. Okay, how about let's just do a little test. Just want to make sure that. Okay, so how much smaller do I want to make these eyes? Maybe they need to get even smaller. I think I got all my lines maybe just for... No, I was thinking maybe I'll put those lines on there, but I think maybe not. Okay, so I'm just taking a piece of carbon paper here, and I'm going to trace this image back onto this surface. Let's just make sure that the carbon paper is the right side down. Checking that it's working. Okay. So, actually, maybe this time, maybe I will just, do I want to go into some color to start? So the one kind of difficulty about doing this is sometimes when you trace an image like this, it just suddenly becomes really like flat and lifeless. So part of, you know, people think of just tracing as really easy, but there's a lot of you kind of have to, I think, to do a really good tracing very effectively, I think you need some basic knowledge of anatomy and structure to pull it off, which we'll see if I have. Because it's quite possible that this drawing I do here could be worse than the one I just did previously, right? What's going on here? Okay, well, let's put a little bit of darker color in here. In fact, let's go zoom into that face again. Look how important that little reflection on that eye is. Tells us that he's alive. The eye is wet. It's reflecting light. I'm just going to cover the drawing here with a little bit of paper so that I don't, in fact, let's move this down. Maybe we'll come back to that hair later on. let's just keep plowing ahead. I'm not super happy right now. Still working on that likeness. But we'll zoom back out here in a moment and just take a kind of do a little assessment. I'll show you how I would kind of hopefully get to the next step here. Okay. I feel like that eye is a little bit far to the left here. Okay. So, you know, I think it looks okay. I want it to get a little bit closer to the original. So what I want to do is I'm going to look at this picture and I'm going to try to squint my eyes like I'm pretending to sleep, so that's going to kind of block out some of the details, allow me to see the contrast. And that contrast is really important because it's going to help me get the structure in, because the shadows help define the shape of the face to the point where, you know what, I might even, what if we go here, oops, oh, let me adjust those colors, let me see, let's, so what I'm going to do here, let's go to color. It's going to take all the saturation down so we don't see any color. It's just black and white. I'm going to bump up the highlights. Make the shadows more intense here. I might make those shadows even more intense so that you know, if I compare that this here, and then my own drawing, it might be able to help me see where some issues are. So one thing I do that, it makes me feel like, ooh, you know what, this, I might have made that a little bit long. I think what I'm going to do is not try to raise this up. I'm just going to soften that chin here. Otherwise, it's really going to look like he's squeezing his head back against his spine, right? also want to be careful I don't turn this into a beard or something, right? So it's obviously a little bit darker on the left than the right. Okay, maybe let's go to some darker browns now. 211, okay. What color are his eyes? They're brown, aren't they? Still feel like those eyes are a bit big. Okay, well, let's... see this eyelet should be coming down here. Well, not bad. Not bad. Not gonna win me the World Cup, that's for sure. It's funny, it's again, I'm not super happy with the way it looks on camera, but in person I'm quite pleased with it. Like, I look at it like that, I'm like, well, that's pretty good. And I look at it on camera, I'm like, what is wrong with it? Let's give it... I'm going to give it 5 more minutes here. Five more minutes to wrap up here. What am I missing? It looks so much lighter on camera. Maybe I'll show you kind of... what it looks like to me. there's my 2-minute timer going off. Okay, I think that's, I'm gonna have to, okay, I'll just show you, maybe, where is it? Oh, huh. Where's my aperture ring here? Huh. That's weird. Okay, it's not letting me adjust the settings. I must have it on some auto settings balancing. Anyway, it is a little, it's much darker than it appears on camera. I think in person I'm much happier with it than I am on camera, but that's typical. So maybe yeah, that's okay. I think that's okay. That's how, let's zoom. And a little bit closer. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm pretty close. I think a couple things that I notice is just the shape of this particular eyelid should be much more, like it's almost horizontal there. It should be more in a diagonal. I think that would help. Because the eyes are really important, and especially to a guy like this who's such an iconic figure. Those little lines being slightly off can make a big difference. I do think maybe just giving him a little bit of eyelashes because he is a little bit of a feminine looking figure. You know, he wears earrings and is very metrosexual, as you might say. And I want that to come through. Maybe just a little bit more black in this here. He's always got that kind of omnipresent smirk going on. That's important to capture. So much for my 5-minute timer here. I'm going to stop here any second here. I'm just using my eraser to clean up some of the smudges and stuff that showed up over there. Kind of reminds me, I don't know if you know the actor from Saturday Night Live, the former actor not Cillian Murphy. Cillian Myers or something. He was on Saturday Night Live for a few years, 4 or 5 years ago. Not Cillian Murphy, right? Because he's the actor who was in Oppenheimer, I think. But the way that neck looks really reminds me of Cillian Murphy. In fact, I'm just gonna take now I see it. Okay, it's probably best just to stop and walk away. Right, maybe just taking a quick look at the drawing we did previously. Maybe that was the better one. Who knows? Right, it is interesting just to see the structure there as opposed to this one, which has got obviously more refined qualities. Okay, whew. It's a marathon. Went down to penalties. It was a close one, but Ronaldo defeated me again. Okay, folks, thanks so much for watching. I just want to quickly remind everyone to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know when future episodes are taking place. If you want to support the channel with a small donation, a couple bucks, $5 to help inspire more episodes, consider leaving a donation with the QR code there or using the PayPal address. It'll take you to a page like this. The link is also in the description below. And if you want to support the channel in other ways, such as a check in the mail or an e-transfer or YouTube super chat while we're live, all those options again are below. If you want to send a check or you want my email, contact me through the website, my website, and or the Facebook group. Speaking of the Facebook group, there's the Facebook group. and scan that QR code or enter one of these addresses. All three of these things go all the exact same place. It's the first link in the description below. And in about another 3 weeks, I'm going to do a free bonus feedback episode. It's been a while since I've done one. So I want you to upload the drawing that you made today, whether it's of Ronaldo or somebody else. I'd love to see it. The community would love to see it with people all around the world. So join our community, share your artwork, and oh, that's the last little bit there. Okay. Archie said, I had no idea you would dive into so much detail. First time I've watched a portrait video. Took a lot from the stream, sir. So many thanks. Barbara, hi Barbara. I'll have to watch the replay. Fabulous drawings. Thanks, Michael. I've added a thumbs up. Thank you so much. Okay. Archie says, was interested to see the use of tracing a carbon paper to restart things. Yes, that's little. You can get that carbon paper or charcoal paper at, you know, any kind of, well, any art supply store should have it, but even here in Vancouver, Canada, you can get them at like local dollar stores kind of stuff. So yeah, I do almost all the paintings using it, but even just that parchment paper or tracing paper to trace that image to kind of restart it, so that I'm not kind of reinventing the wheel when I go over to this drawing. I've already kind of, if I'm relatively satisfied with the drawing that I've got here, I can trace it with the parchment paper, wax paper, and then redo it on another page. And that also means I don't have all of those the lines that I used to work out the original image, right? It just sort of looks a little bit more refined, like I just knew where everything went, right? The secrets that artists have. Thanks so much, folks. Have a wonderful afternoon, and good luck to the teams playing over the next couple of days. We'll see who ends up as champion of the World Cup in 2026. Until I see you again, my friends, take care. Have a great evening. Bye-bye. Awesome Turnbull says, I need to get your mustache. I love it. Well, there's time. It takes a little while to grow one.